Our first question, Mike, will come from Greg Hunter.
So, Mike, let's just start with the basics. Going into your fourth year, how have you progressed in your time from, I guess, high school wide receiver to college tight end?
I think I progressed a lot, both physically and mentally. Coming in, I was about 210 pounds. And then after that first year, gaining some weight, putting the weight on for a true tight end spot was difficult, but kind of got past that stage. And as you get older, you want to kind of develop your mental side of the game as well. And the past 2 years, getting with Coach Trickett, Coach Parker, Coach Brown, understanding the position a little more, understanding defenses, kind of bringing it to that next level of thinking and learning within the position. So that's what I've been doing these past 2 years.
Next question from Kevin Kinder.
Mike, with tight ends looking like they're going to become a bigger part of the offense, is it nicer just to have more guys in the room, more around to work with? And kind of a follow-up question, do you have a favorite route, combination, play, whatever, that would be coming out that, that you feel like you excel at?
Yeah. The first part's actually funny. We were talking about that the other day because we were so thin at the spot in previous years, and kind of as we've been trusting the position more, we've also invested in that position more, and you can see that with the amount of guys we're bringing in, and just the level of learning that we're at now. So it is nice to have more bodies there. It's pretty cool to have young, we were the younger guys the whole entire time. TJ Banks and I, we've always been the young guys here. This is our first year where we have people, kids and athletes underneath us that we can teach and kind of help them figure out the ways too. So that's been a cool little twist. And then as of, for the route tree, I like curls, middle curls. You could always pop open, get a nice gain there, and then get upfield, make a play. So probably my favorite.
Cody Nesper.
Hi, Mike. When we talked to Coach Moore, he said one of his big things this offseason is increasing the communication between the tackles and the tight ends. And I was just wondering if we could get, from your perspective, how that's going and why that's important.
Yeah, I think we've kind of honed in on that this offseason, and we've spent time on it too. So obviously it's important, and it's been going really well. That's something that we didn't really have in the years past, is that communication. Obviously, the O-line talks to each other, but we're not always in there blocking. We're sometimes split out. So having that communication with the tackle just makes it that much better. Everyone's on the same page, and we've been taking care of the run game so far this off season this spring. So it's been a really great adjustment.
Back to Greg Hunter.
So, Mike, were there early moments when you're blocking and you're going up against somebody really good and really big, and you go, "Oh boy, this is a lot more difficult than I thought"? And how have you improved in that area since?
Yeah, that's definitely something that happens, every day. Football's an inches game, and if you don't get a jump on a guy, it doesn't really matter how big they are. They're just going to have power and position over you. So it's important to understand that, learn that, and then, use your technique, especially when you're going up against a bigger guy. Like sometimes we might go up against a 300-pound dude or a 290-pound dude. They got some weight on us, but if we have our technique, hands inside, stay in our power positions, we can take care of that block and get it done.
Cody Nesper.
So a quick follow-up for the communication. What are the kinds of things you need to talk about with the tackles, either during the course of a game or in preparation or anything like that?
Pretty basic stuff. Obviously, you'll know kind of what the defense does, but just where we're blocking, and just kind of the direction we're going. Sometimes that can get a little bit, blurry and messed up, but, communication is always key. Even if it's something simple, having that communication where you can kind of, confirm that we're both on the same page right before you're about to go make a play, that just helps a lot. And that's a big reason why we're doing it.
John Antoni.
Mike jumped on here a little bit late. Curious, where you think your personal growth has been the greatest since you've been here?
Mentally, just understanding the game, understanding the position. That's something that I never had. I was a receiver in high school, And even going from receiver in high school to a college receiver, you have 4 years of learning. You're always learning. You're always trying to master your craft, master your skills, and understand the game to the best of your knowledge. And then having to go to a new position, which I never even played in high school. I was never in a stance, 3-point stance. So having to learn that was difficult, but I've put time into that, put work into that, and just the overall understanding of football is just vast now. So it's a lot greater.
Mike, your body's changed so much since you've been here. Do you kind of view yourself now as an extension of the O-line?
At times, yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely at times. I think that's a good thing. I think if you can have a tight end that can go out in a route and make a play, but also be an extension of the line, that's a valuable person on the team there.
Mike, the tight end has kind of experienced a revival in the game. You look at offenses now that have that versatile tight end that can play attached or play off. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with an offense now with a tight end that can do those things, isn't there? Yeah. I look at Iowa State. Look they play 3 at one time.
Yep. And that's, it's a process because you got to have all the tight ends on the same page, in similar years. So if you look at the NFL too, there's Pro Bowlers that stick out. They're top 10, players in the league, and there's some tight ends in there. So people are starting to invest in tight ends and kind of seeing what they can do for a team and what they can do against a defense. So it's becoming a bigger role.
Greg Hunter.
So a fun one here. You guys had practice canceled yesterday because of some snow flurries. As a Chicago kid, do you look at Coach Brown and just say, come on?
I don't say come on, but, you always agree with Coach Brown. But, I mean, I wouldn't – I'm not bothered playing out in 36-degree weather or 18-degree weather. I don't have a problem with it. So, I guess I chuckle a little bit, but, not a big deal.
Coldest game you played in Chicago? What was it? Do you remember?
Coldest game I played in? Definitely below freezing. Maybe like 20 degrees, high school. Yeah, it can get pretty chilly out there.
Mike Casaza.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I have 2 questions for you, if that's all right. About 12 personnel. What has to happen for you all to be able to play that reliably?
A lot of practice, especially with integrating the tight ends just into the offense a little more. Having 2 in there is even, a bigger deal. But having both in there, having 2 tight ends in there kind of messes with the defense a little bit because oftentimes their strength is depending on where the single tight end is in the lineup. When there's 2 in there, it can get a little confusing. It can get hazy. So having both of us in there or 2 guys in there is, a huge advantage. And if we can go make plays out in the routes or, block with the O-line and get a good push, it's very valuable.
Okay. And along those lines, it's personnel related too. If you're going to play 2, you have to have 3 or 4. I understand Charles has been out for a little bit, but you have the 2 true freshmen who were in that look like physically they may be there sooner rather than later. How much of a push do they need? How close do you think you are? Or is that still kind of one of those things you look at in the fall because it's too soon to know right now?
Yeah, everything, you never know. Traylon and Victor have done a great job so far. Young kids just kind of get to know college life and college football, leaving home and everything. So, but they got great heads on their shoulders. They listen, they're very coachable kids, which is really important. But they'll be successful and they'll get going soon.
Thanks.
Kevin Kinder.
Following along with that learning process, that transition for you, is it difficult from play to play to transition from, hey, I'm blocking this guy, I might be, hitting a defensive end, chasing a linebacker, and now, whoops, I got to fake that and be athletic.
Yeah, it is a mindset thing. You got to be able to turn it off and on a little bit. But when you're kind of learning the position, it's difficult. But once you've been in that role for a few years, you kind of understand, like, if you're on the ball, you got to have a certain mindset. Whereas if you're off the ball, you got to kind of have a plan and everything. So it does, differ, but you kind of learn that along the way.
John Antonic.
This is a follow-up to what I asked you before about the value of a tight end. What's a guy like Gronkowski meant to the game, you think, in terms of tight end play? And it seems like everybody's after that guy now. And you go to lower levels of football, tight ends are hard to find.
Yeah.
It's kind of a rare skill set, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a big athletic person, honestly. And if you look at Gronk, the guy was dunking basketballs in high school, and he's just a big athletic guy, and turned out to be a football player. And he's a guy who's a little bit crazy. And I feel like at this position, you got to have a little bit of crazy, because you're doing all sorts of things, and you're hitting big people, you're trying to run by little people. So I think he's done a great job. He was an idol growing up, kind of learning the position. I'd always used to watch him, and he just played so hard. Like, if you play hard, good things are going to happen, even if you aren't always doing the right thing. If you play hard, good things will happen. And he's just a model person and model example for that.
And Mike, I don't know 6'5", 2. I don't know what you weigh, 6'5", 250, whatever. But there are instances where you can get on guys that are maybe half your size. I mean, there's opportunities in the way the game is structured today, particularly with the hybrid guys that are guarding you in the secondary and the linebackers. It's become an advantage now, hasn't it?
Yeah, and you should definitely take advantage of that as a tight end. And we kind of harp on that a little bit, because sometimes you can get caught up or make excuses or whatever. But if you're on a smaller guy, you should win. You should just know that, and you should have that mindset and go make that play.
Greg Hunter.
Last one for me, Mike. I haven't talked to you since the bowl game, so take me back to the touchdown. Obviously, a huge play. Austin Kendall, who talks after the games, how you guys are so tight, and he was able to get you your first touchdown. So, what was that like? What did that mean?
Yeah, that was a great experience. I had my family there, everybody there, and it was awesome. Austin came in, did a great job. And that's definitely a moment I'll remember forever. He's a good buddy of mine. Got a second chance there in the second half and took advantage of it, and we came out with a win. So I was super happy. But yeah, the first touchdown is pretty exciting.
I believe we have one last question here on the board from John Antoni.
Yeah, this last one for me, and this kind of popped up from what you were talking about before. You think what Iowa State's doing right now going to change the game a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I think people really saw the value in 3 tight ends, and when you invest, because obviously they invested a lot of time in them, and that's not always easy to do because you don't know what the outcome will be, especially with 3 bigger guys. They're not going to blow by people, so you don't really know what to do. But I don't know if it was an experimental thing that just kind of worked out, or if they really harped on these 3 kids to go out there and make plays. But yeah, I think a lot of people were paying attention to that, and I think a lot of people are trying to find tight ends all over the country, in high school, and trying to develop kids to play that role, because obviously it was effective.
No, I would, and I guess you mentioned the key word develop, because I don't think they're growing them. I think you got to develop tight ends, right?
Yeah,
they don't just come out tight ends, right?
No, definitely not. I didn't. Yeah. So.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Mike,